This is the Thrive Podcast with Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church. And now, Pastor Fred Jeff Smith.
Hello, welcome to the 35th edition of the Thrive Podcast with the Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church. I'm Fred Jeff Smith, pastor of Shiloh, and I'm very happy that you took the time to either view or listen to this week's podcast. If you're viewing on YouTube, thank you. If you're listening on iTunes, thank you very much. And I am very happy to have as my guest today Ms. Shelly Lee, who is the president, founder of Prestige Dance Company, is an educator, is a teacher in the East Baton Rouge Parish school system, is a historian by trade, and is a world traveler because she's soon going to be going to Paris, France. And I don't know if this is the first, second, or third time that you've gone overseas, but thank you, Ms. Lee, for taking the time to come and share with us
Absolutely.
today. Before we started taping, we were having an interesting discussion about charter schools. So before I talk about dance, let's talk about let's continue the discussion on charter schools. I am not opposed to charter schools. I do think that I have concerns about charter schools. I think that as a concept, they're here to stay. They're not going anywhere. So I'm pragmatic about that. But I do have concerns about finite dollars that have been set aside for public schools that are then reshuffled and redistributed into what are essentially private schools in charters that are allowed to operate on public school dollars. My concern is not the money itself. My concern is that a dollar that goes to a charter school is a dollar that goes away from a traditional public school, where I think every dollar is absolutely necessary. We were talking about how the school where you work, Mentorship Academy in downtown Baton Rouge, is functioning, and give us your assessment as a teacher and as someone with experience with charter and public schools. Give us your assessment, please.
I understand where you feel that charters are more private. However, with a private school, they have stricter enrollment requirements and things like that. Whereas at Mentorship Academy, it's open enrollment. So we take students with various testing scores. They come from different places all over, EBR, Zachary, Baker, Central. I think my biggest thing is that even though we are a charter school, we function just like a public school. And you have students that are within the parish, so that's within a public school. We bus them, all of our students receive free lunch. Mm-hmm. So we have teachers who are held to the same requirements that teachers in public schools are. We have to take the same test that the public schools have to. So LEAP 2025, which is crazy. The name change.
Oh, stop. What's wrong? What makes LEAP 2025 crazy?
No. The name change.
The name change.
I'm used to EOCs.
Do they still give LEAP tests at 4th grade and at 8th grade?
I teach high school.
Okay. So
Yes.
when my children were in school, there was a 4th grade LEAP, there was an 8th grade LEAP, and then there was what they called at that time the exit exam that you took as a junior. Well, you tried to take it as a junior so that you weren't on pins and needles as whether or not you were going to actually graduate as a senior. So
we had to take them. We had to take them as seniors.
You took them as seniors.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But no, they still. Well, we're 9th through 12th grade, so we don't do that. But ideally, what they do when some parents choose to move their students from public schools to private schools is the fact that you get out of that state testing. They don't have to take those to matriculate or graduate.
Yes.
Whereas at mentorship, we're held at the same standards as public schools. And so
a child who goes to Episcopal High School does not have to take a LEAP test or an exit exam.
No.
A child who goes to Parkview Baptist
Right.
Does not have to take a LEAP test or an. I'm just saying that because I want the public to recognize that there are distinctions that exist.
Whereas, because we are a charter and we fall, like, our principal has to go to the school board meetings. Like, we have to be in alignment with all EBR school standards. Like, the attendance. You're only allowed to miss 10 days the entire semester. That's across the board, whereas in private school, they can waiver that because they're set on a completely separate charter. They have a board that decides their decisions, although we have a board that also that we also have to fall in line with. We have to fall in line with our charter board as well as EBR, because we have the partnership with the with EBR school systems. But our students are required to take all of the LEAP 2025 / EOC exams. If they don't pass them, they have to repeat the course. I mean, the same guidelines that we follow in EBR school systems, they have to follow that at mentorship as well.
Okay. I was saying before we started taping, and so to be fair to you, I want to say it while we're taping. One of the concerns that I have about charter schools in East Baton Rouge is that their record of success has not been significantly better, and in many cases has been worse than the records of success of traditional public schools in East Baton Rouge. I know that people can point to other places where charters have been more successful. That has not been the case in East Baton Rouge Parish. Do you have any thoughts as to why that might be?
I'm not 100% sure. I know our school right now is a B school, but I think that has a lot to do with the caliber of teachers that we have, but also with the idea that I was telling you before. Like, we're going to meet our student where they are, and then we're going to bring them to where they need to be. And if that's, we have after school tutoring on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and we feed them and we bus them home. We have various programs and mentoring and scholarship programs, and we just have an amazing staff of individuals where we make that connection between school and home.
What's the community support system for Mentorship Academy? Is it strong? Is it normal? Is it subpar? How would you assess that?
That's rough, that particular question, only because of where we're located. So we're located in the heart of downtown,
right,
which isn't...
Used to be the Regions Bank building, for those who aren't familiar.
Right. And so, I mean, there is not necessarily a community there because it's businesses. However, a lot of the businesses that are around us, they put back into our school. And we have an intern program where our seniors go and work in various businesses around downtown and outside of the area. Like, we have students that go and work at the state capitol. We have students that go and work for Albemarle because they're in the Chase building across the street. We have students that go and work at the Department of Insurance. A lot of the local businesses downtown really help to mold our students be successful and help them attain jobs once they've graduated. Yeah. Which I think that's amazing. Yeah. We have a partnership with Southern University, and so I remember, because I was a senior teacher for the last 3 years, and now I'm a freshman teacher. Whew, it's completely different. That's completely different, but we have a partnership with Southern University and SUSLA, and so what that allows us to do is to waive the application fee for our students to apply to those universities, and that gives our students that step up. Now, here's your help. Now, what are you going to do to make sure that you're successful and that you can step above the bar? And so I think that's we've built a lot of great relationships within the last couple of years, because I want to say this is their 6th, maybe 7th year.
Okay.
And so this is my 3rd year of mentorship.
Ballpark it. What's the enrollment of mentorship?
Oh, I don't have to ballpark that one. 563 students.
563.
Yes.
Wow, that's a large school.
Yes.
Large charter school.
Mm-hmm.
As charter schools go in East Baton Rouge, that's probably one of the largest.
Yes.
Okay.
I think next to that is probably Madison Prep.
Okay. And the relationship that the schools that the school has with the church community, is there one? Because this is a church podcast, so one of the things that I'm interested in is places where the church can plug into the lives of everyday people and the things that go on. Is there a relationship that exists between Mentorship Academy and the churches? You guys are right across the street from First Baptist Church down there. I don't know if there's a relationship, and I'm not picking on First Baptist. I'm just asking the question. Is there a church relationship with the charters?
Not with the church downtown. We do baccalaureate. Mm-hmm. For our seniors, and our principal, Mr. Robert Webb Jr., he attends, what is the church on Winburn?
Oh, Living Faith.
Living Faith, yeah, I'm sorry. So he attends that church, and so every year, that week before graduation, we do baccalaureate with Living Faith, and they bless the students. They have an amazing service for them, and usually it's the youth service. And so we have a relationship with that church, and
That's
especially
good.
for our seniors.
That's good. What do you teach?
I teach world geography and AP world history.
Okay. I world geography. Yuck. That's all I can say.
Hey, I agree with you. I teach science.
When I was in seminary, the 3 years of seminary, the class I didn't only didn't like it, I despised it, was biblical archaeology and geography. Having to look at maps all day, and then having to hear the professor talk about digs and going and pulling out artifacts.
That's the best part.
You talk about 60 minutes of pure torture, having to sit there and listen and watch slides the whole time that it was going on. So do you get to incorporate your love of dance into your work at Mentorship Academy?
I am the cheer coach at Mentorship Academy. So okay. I do. I've been coaching cheer for 13 years. And so we are getting ready for homecoming right now.
Okay.
So my cheerleaders are preparing for pep rally. And so I do get to...
So Mentorship Academy has a football team?
Yes.
Okay. Forgive my ignorance. You're in a bank building downtown. There is absolutely no green space as I drive by there. So where do they practice football? I did not know the Mentorship Academy had a football team.
Yes. We have an amazing athletic program. Thank you. They practice at Memorial Stadium and at McKinley Middle.
Okay.
They use their field, and yeah.
How's the football team doing?
We have a new head coach, Coach Keith Woods, and he is amazing, and he has an amazing coaching staff. This is his first year at Mentorship Academy, so the boys are looking great. It's been rough. Our lineup, we play some huge schools. Mm-hmm. We play West Feliciana, U High.
Okay.
We play against Madison Prep, which is our rival.
Okay.
That was a rough game. We played Baker for their homecoming.
Okay.
That was a rough one, too.
Byron Wade, who has also been a guest here with this podcast.
That's my boy.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So I didn't hear a record in all of that. When I asked you how you're doing, I never heard what the record was.
We have no wins right now.
Okay.
But it's a rebuilding year for us.
Sure.
So, but I believe in Coach Woods. He is amazing. He has done a great job with our boys so far, and I think that we're going to go great places. So I'm ready.
So, and I guess this might be outside of your purview, but I'm just curious. In that you are a charter school and you can draw from all over the parish, you're more like a private school than a public school, whereas because public schools can only draw athletes from within particular attendance zones.
We're the same. We have to fall within the same. So we're not like a private school at all. Like private schools can go out and recruit,
right,
things like that. We can't do any. We fall under LHSAA guidelines, just like everybody else.
Okay.
And so if they are within our attendance zone, because we fall within TARA's attendance zone.
Okay.
If they are outside of it, the students have to sit out a year.
They can't play.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we get stuck with the same
well,
book
that's
that
tough.
Everybody else. Who you telling?
It limits what you're able to do.
I coach softball, so believe me when I tell you.
Okay.
The struggle is real.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So you teach history, you teach geography, you're the cheerlead coach, and you coach softball.
Yeah.
That's a full-time job, and you haven't left mentorship. So where do you get the time for Prestige Dance?
Man, I have an amazing support system. My family is so supportive of me, and they're just amazing. I have an amazing brother, Richard Noel Lee Ivy, and we have a t-shirt business together, Creative Tees Plus.
Really?
Yes. And so he is my best friend, and we do everything together, and we raise our kids together, and we run our businesses together. Mm-hmm. And so I have him, I have my dad, my stepdad.
Your dad, who happens to be the mayor of Port Allen, Louisiana, where you're a native.
Absolutely. The West Side is the best side. Yes. But I have an amazing support system. And so they help me build my brand. They help me with raising my kids. I have two beautiful daughters, Addison and Aubrey. They're 6 and 12. Give me strength.
Yes. Yes.
But
the Lord knew what He was doing. He gave me boys. My sister had 2 girls. They're 5 years apart, so that's close to what you did with. My brother has 3 girls. The Lord blessed me with 2 boys, and I think He knew what He was doing. I always said I wanted 2 boys and a girl, but
it's not for everybody. Like there's a special place for people like us who have girls.
Yeah.
A house full of girls is even rougher, but yeah.
Yeah.
It's an experience. My mom passed this year on Mother's Day, and she raised me to be this amazing woman that I am.
Yes.
And so
I sense that you are an amazing woman.
And my mom, I am a reflection of my mother. My mother could do anything. She could make glamour out of a grain of rice. It was. We have this event planning business called Your Elegant Moment, and so that's where we started out. It was me, my mom, and my brother, and we started with birthday parties, and then it grew from birthday parties to small events for our church, because I grew up at Scotch United Methodist Church in Port Allen.
Okay.
And we started with doing these little small programs with Christmas with Santa, breakfast with Santa, and we did breakfast and toys and all kinds of things. And then people were like, hey, how did you do that? Hey, do you think you can do my kid's birthday party? And so we went from birthday parties to weddings. And we turned the community center. If you've ever been to to West Baton Rouge Parish Community Center
Yes.
in Port Allen.
Yes.
It's a gymnasium.
Yes.
They play basketball there.
Yes.
We turned that into the Taj Mahal with weddings and draping the ceilings and the whole nine. And now we get called out to do proms and homecoming dances and cotillions and balls and all kinds of things. And that's when me and my brother first started out, and we created our businesses underneath this umbrella of my mom. And so now we just do everything.
Okay, so let's talk about that because that was, I wasn't prepared for you to tell me that you were a businesswoman. I knew that you were an educator, a historian, a dancer. Now you're telling me that you're also a businesswoman. What's the atmosphere like for a double minority business person in the greater Baton Rouge area? You're a minority because you're African American. You're a minority because you're a woman. What's the atmosphere like as a double minority businesswoman?
It's rough and it's touch and go because you know that what you bring to the table is just as qualified and adequate and successful as this male or this Caucasian person. But then you see me and then it's, oh, thank you so much, but we'll get back to you. Or
so they treat you differently on the phone or through media correspondence than they do when they see you in person.
When they see me in person, like you'll talk on the phone with me and, you know, I'm amazing over the phone and I have this bubbly personality and we can have this engaging conversation and you know, it's, oh, I can't wait to meet you and I'm so eager to have your business, and then we get face to face and it's, oh, hi. And a lot of people know me as Shelly Lee, but my name is Shelly Lee.
Okay.
And so you hear Shelly Lee over the phone and you get business cards with Shelly Lee because when I was younger and I was first starting my business out with dance and things like that, and you saw Rochelle Lee on the card and it's Rochelle Lee. Well, that name doesn't, maybe a Rochelle or a Rachel, but you see Rochelle, and then the atmosphere and the interaction became different. And so when I was growing up, people would say my first and last name together, and I don't know why they were doing that. Rochelle. And so that's where I got the Shelly from. And so I started going by Shelly. Okay. So then you get Shelly over the phone, and her voice, she's very articulate, and her she's engaging, and she's amazing, and oh, I can't wait to meet you. And then you see me in person, and you're taken aback because this person you were talking over the phone with didn't sound like an African American woman. And so you get different interaction sometimes.
I imagine that can be very discouraging.
And hurtful.
And angering.
Very.
So how do you rise above the anger and the hurt? Or do you utilize the anger and the hurt in order to achieve?
It depends on the circumstance. Sometimes you just have to rise above it and put on that extra touch of something, of that pizzazz that my mom gave me, because that was the kind of person my mom was. My mom worked for the mayor of Port Allen, well, before my dad became the mayor, but she worked for them for years, and she had this amazing relationship with all of these different people from all different walks of life, and it was really present at her funeral. I mean, the place was packed. There were people outside because she just had this amazing connection with people. And so I embody that when I go into these blindsided meetings and proposals for my business. And although they see this African American woman sitting across the table from them, when they really get to interact with me and see this amazing person on the other side of the color of my skin, then they can do nothing but, slide their money across the table or give me their business or want to do partnerships with me to better their brand or better their business. And so rarely do I get meet with, the brick wall when it comes with business.
That's good.
But
you're able to overcome it.
Yes, but when I do, I just take that and I make sure that the next time that I'm better prepared. Like, where did I fall short in this particular engagement? Where did I fall short? It can't always be about the fact that I'm a woman or the fact that I'm African American. I have to bring something to the table that wows them beyond them seeing all of this, as I tell my kids, all of this. So
one of the things that I regularly complain about, where business is concerned, where professionals are concerned, doctors, lawyers, architects, accountants, where institutions are concerned, high schools, colleges, universities, and where the church is concerned, is that if you are African American, the pool of resources from which you can draw, or the pool of potential clients, I guess that's a better way of saying it, the resources, is finite.
It is.
Very seldom do Caucasians or non-African Americans readily engage in business with African Americans. That's true across the spectrum. And I don't think that can be denied. Whereas white businesses, white schools, white churches, white professionals, doctors, lawyers, what have you, their pool is larger,
right,
and includes African Americans. Our pool is decidedly smaller,
very much so.
And so the opportunities for success are smaller as well because of that. As a businesswoman and facing that reality on a daily basis, how do you overcome that?
I think the most important thing that I can do is I have to make myself marketable. And so I don't necessarily believe in just making sure that I am acceptable for the African American community. And not that I don't think that because a lot of my dance friends, like, they have studios and they want to focus on educating African American dancers, which I think is amazing. But I don't want to limit my own growth or my own business. I danced at Louisiana State University. I danced for Southern University. I was accepted to Juilliard. I did all of these things, but that's because I wanted to make sure that I was well-rounded for what I wanted to achieve. And so when I market myself and market my business, I market it for every potential client. And I think that's extremely important for any business. You don't want to limit yourself. Although I want to make sure that African American dancers are given the best education, I'm going to make sure they're given the best education as well as giving it to everybody else. And that's just my personal preference. But I went to private school. I went to a predominantly white private school. I chose to go to Louisiana State University, whereas a lot of my classmates looked down on me because I chose to go to LSU instead of going to Southern first. And I felt that I wanted to get the entire experience.
Sure. My concern, I went to LSU too. I'm a 1983 graduate of the Louisiana State University. She said the Southern University before we got started, so I just want to say the Louisiana State University. But my concern is not how we see ourselves, but how others see us. Shiloh is a full service church, and yet the pool from which we draw is decidedly African American. Now, if you come on a Sunday morning, you might see sprinkled in one of our worship experiences, one or two white people. Our doors are open to anyone and everyone of any ethnic background, which historically cannot be said by other churches across this state.
Right.
Shiloh never had a closed door policy that said you couldn't come because you were of a different race. Other churches can't say the same. But in the year of our Lord 2018, it is still a rarity for Caucasians or Hispanics or Asians to cross over into an African American church or an African American business or contract the services of African American entrepreneurs, whereas it is not a rarity at all for African Americans to contract with people of different ethnicities. And because that is a reality, it makes the pool of resources from which you can draw decidedly smaller.
Oh, definitely. I think for us to be able to bring in more non-whites in any aspect would be to make sure that when you're out promoting yourself or promoting your business or asking people to come and fellowship, you have to go out into their communities and do that. Just like we want to go out into the Black community and we want to encourage people to come in, and like at Rose Hill, we go and evangelize in Port Allen. And Pastor Maurice is amazing when it comes to that, because he wants to make sure that we can bring in those people of Port Allen. But it doesn't matter what side, because in Port Allen you got the Black side,
right,
and you got the white side.
Sure.
But it doesn't matter what side, we're one Port Allen. So we're going to evangelize across the board and hope for the best. And you might not get the best greeting on the other side, because the majority of them are Catholic. However, just because they're not Baptist doesn't mean that we're not going to go knock on a door anyway and
sure,
and invite them to our worship service. Or we give away free gas during Easter holiday, I want to say that. And so we give out free gas to whoever pulls up. We're not going to only do it for Baptist people. We're not only going to do it for the Blacks. Anybody that pull up to the tanks between that certain time period, we're going to, because we're spreading our goodwill and our love out to whoever is willing to take it. And I think that that's the same thing that we have to do when it comes to our business. No, I'm not going to only go out into the Black communities and just publicize my business or just give out my business cards at African American events. I want to get out there and I want to set up a booth at anybody's event.
Sure.
Any church, any like we do, they have the mistletoe market. And so we set up a booth at Mistletoe Market. We go out to, where is it? Out in Gonzales, and they have their fair out in Gonzales. We go set up a booth out in Gonzales. Just because my business is centrally located in the Baton Rouge area, I'm not going to limit myself by only focusing here, because I had a dance studio in Zachary. And so my enrollment at my studio was 60 plus kids, but it was a mixture. But out there I had predominantly white.
Really? That's excellent.
I had predominantly white students there.
Who saw you as a dancer.
Right, and it wasn't
not an African American.
No,
dancer.
And I thought that was amazing. And but when I moved my business to Baton Rouge, and I understood my parents couldn't drive all the way from Zachary into Baton Rouge, and so opening out here has been an experience because there are a lot of already well-established dance studios out in the Baton Rouge area. But still in all, I'm not going to limit myself to only offering dance styles that are just going to be interesting to African American dancers.
Sure.
I'm going to offer the full range. I'm going to offer ballet and jazz and hip hop and modern and contemporary and
Okay, let's talk about that because I don't want to miss out on anything. You clearly have a very colorful and wonderful life with a million different experiences. And the first thing that I learned about you was about the dance, and yet it's like number 5 on the list of things that we have talked about.
Absolutely.
You attended Juilliard, and you are a professional dancer, and you teach people how to dance. Can you teach somebody who's never been able to dance and has no coordination and has 3 left feet how to dance?
Absolutely.
I'm talking about myself, by the way.
Absolutely.
I have no talent. My wife will tell you I have absolutely no talent when it comes to dance at all. So you're looking at your most difficult prospect right here. Is it possible for you to be able to teach somebody as uncoordinated, as ridiculously inept as I am, how to dance?
Hey, there is a dancer in everyone. Doesn't matter how small it is.
Really? You really believe that?
There's a dancer in everybody.
That's not just height. There is a dancer in everyone.
Hey, you have feet.
You have not seen me dance.
You have feet.
Yes.
Or you are a dancer. Anyone can dance now. How coordinated your steps are is completely different. But anybody, as long as you can move your feet, you can dance.
My wife says I don't get on the right beat. She says that every now and then something will come on at home and I'll actually try to move. And she says, "Please stop. Please don't."
Hey, so let me tell you something. I think that my degree in education has really shaped me to be a better dance instructor.
Okay.
Because to teach high school, for one, you have to have the patience of any, you need to have the patience. And so I started teaching kids at the age of 3, and I have my own kids, and when I go home, I'm just like, whew, all right, girls, just mama need a minute. But when I'm in a dance studio, my 3-year-olds are the most spastic. And then it's like, it's 5:30 in the afternoon, and so their teachers just gave them suckers and candy, and so they're
sugar kicks in.
Right, they're like, "Rah!" And so they're like all over the place. But I have such patience with them. And like in my classroom, I'm very hands-on. So we're going to have an activity. So the kids come to class knowing there's an activity. And so you have to make dance fun. It can't just be about the dance. You have to meet people where they are, even you. And you need to bring them where they need to be. And so if you need to do a waltz for your son's wedding or something, I'm going to take you where you are, right over there. And I'm going to bring you all the way over here where you need to be, because you and your wife have to do this amazing dance on the floor.
Every 2 years, Shiloh has a Christmas gala. I'm assuming we're going to do it again in 2019. Part of the Christmas gala is that the pastor and his wife lead off in the dance.
So have you just sat down forever?
No,
okay.
I did the dance, but my wife gave me very specific instructions. She said,
right here,
"Stay." Yes,
Still.
You must have been there.
Still.
Those were the rules.
You're gonna stay
Stay
here.
right here. Absolutely correct. And I did that for about 2 minutes, and then I stepped aside, gave people a nice laugh, and stepped aside. This year, I'd like to be able to actually dance.
Absolutely.
And so I'm going to be calling upon you to see just how wonderful a teacher you are, because if you can teach me how to actually look not spastic on a dance floor.
Absolutely.
Then that's something that I look forward to.
But you know what? What I think you should actually do is I think that you should, maybe we could do maybe 3 or 4 sessions, but invite your congregation, like invite couples to come, because it's more fun for you.
Actually,
and for others.
there's a dance that goes on where couples dance, and they are all wonderful.
And then there's you.
And then there's me.
Absolutely.
and that's a whole different story altogether. Well, we'll talk about that.
Absolutely.
But as a dancer and as a person who enjoys the wide spectrum of dance, what is it about dance that you think draws people together? Dance is connected to music and rhythms and things of that sort. It seems to be something that causes people to lose a lot of their tribalism, and it's something that people can agree upon and has the ability, the power to bring diverse people together. Yeah.
I think it's the story. I think it's the emotion that happens when people get together. Like, we can have a block party, and the Cupid Shuffle comes on, and everybody's running out. And it doesn't matter if we were fighting last week, or if your tree's leaves fell over in my yard, and we're all mad at each other. When that song comes on, people tend to forget about what they're angry about. It's about the emotion, that fun, that excitement you get when you're moving your body. And it doesn't have to be the gyrating and the twerking and everything. It's that feeling you get that first time you learned how to do that move, or maybe it's my grandmother used to do this dance with me, or I remember me and my dad doing I used to dance on my dad's feet, and we did this father-daughter dance. Music and dancing just has this relationship, but it brings people together. And when people are on a stage, I think that's the thing that I get excited about the most, is like putting on a show for people and then sharing my story through dance with my audience. Like, my music cannot have words, but then people feel what I felt when I was making this choreography. They get to engage in this story that I want to tell them about, that one time at cheer camp, or the day I had my daughter. I felt this emotion and this joy. And no, my dance might not have anything to do with me giving birth to my daughter, but that excitement and that moment of scariness, and then that moment of bliss when I got to hold my daughter for that first time, and I hear it in this music. And then I have this choreography, and I have my students perform it, and for my audiences to feel all of those different things when they see that piece, or when they're doing this dance, or when they're watching it. Like, that's what I get out of dance, and that's what I want people to experience when they're either learning my choreography, or they're watching my show, or they're watching their kids dance in my show. I want them to feel that. So
I have heard some people describe music, singing, performing music or dance as spiritual experiences. Is that something that you would agree with?
Oh, absolutely.
Would you call it a spiritual experience?
When I turn on music, I close my eyes, and I can see different colors, and it just takes me to a completely different place. And I feel like, even though I have all of these different businesses and different talents, like, dance was that one thing that God instilled in me. Like, that is what he gave me purpose for. And that is my biggest connection with the world. And so it has that for me. And that's my way of giving back to anybody. Even I give free lessons, I do workshops, I do all of these different things because I feel like that's my way to give back, because this was my gift. I mean, I know I'm amazing.
You are amazing.
You know.
One final topic, because I'm out of time, and I really appreciate your taking the time with us. You're a member of Rose Hill, Port Allen.
Absolutely.
Rose Hill West Side. Pastor James Maurice, a friend of mine.
Pastor James Maurice.
Good guy. Rose Hill is an outgrowth of Rose Hill, Baton Rouge. Pastor Donnie Donaldson, another very good friend of mine.
Amazing.
One of the things that I find interesting about Rose Hill is the church's ability to draw and retain young people. In a day and a time when young people tend to be shying away from church, from an organized church setting, Rose Hill seems to have found a way, along with Beacon Light, seems to have found a way to maintain, to actually grow young people within their church. I went to Rose Hill on Acadian a couple of years back. Pastor Donaldson invited me to something, and literally, other than his parents, I was the oldest guy in the room, and the church was full. And that's an unusual experience in an African American church setting, to see so many young people, and they're not just there; they are enthusiastically involved in the worship experience. And so, as a member of Rose Hill, tell me what is it about the Rose Hill experience that seems to be such a drawing card for young adults?
I grew up Catholic and Methodist. That is what I grew up. And my aunt, MIT, Myrna Baptiste, she invited me to church, and this was before she became MIT. She invited me to church, and she was like, just come out, just because I was very lost. I ended a 5-year engagement, and I didn't know what I was gonna do with my life. And I went to visit Rose Hill, Port Allen, and Pastor Donaldson was the pastor then. And man, I sat in there and I was in awe, because I could not believe, growing up Catholic and Methodist, just I was listening to this man behind that podium, and I was like, what is this I'm hearing? He's speaking to my soul. I'm telling you, like, that day I joined the church. That day. I'd never stepped foot in a Baptist church a day in my life. And this was when they had first opened the Rose Hill, Port Allen. And maybe a year later, Pastor Maurice became the pastor of the church. But I remember the day that he came and he preached, and I was like, he told us his story. And I think that's the biggest thing. Like, there's no sugarcoating the lifestyle they lived before they got their calling. And they make that connection with the kids, and not just kids, but the young adults. Because I'm still young, I don't care what people say. They make that connection, and it's just like I say, they meet you where you are. And it's not a I'm going to talk down to you kind of experience. It's a I've been where you are, and you can get where you want to be. You can leave that worldly life, and you can come to the kingdom of heaven. You can, and it doesn't take much. It just takes you wanting to be a better version of yourself. And they have the most amazing way of making you feel like, I've lived my worldly life, but that doesn't define who I am. And at any moment, I can drop that and be a better version of myself. And the church is within me. It's not just this building. And I feel like growing up, we were always made to believe that church was this place, you know. But church is everywhere that I go, and it's me professing my faith and encouraging others to, you know, come and live this life. Like, it doesn't have to be about just showing up on holidays. It can, you can be a good Christian and still live your life, but live your life according to God. And I don't know, just they always make me feel that, yeah, the life I was living before I was saved, it was bad, but it's never as bad as people make you believe that you can never be a better version of yourself. And I think that that's where they make that connection. Like, yeah, your street life was bad, but come on, you can let that go. It takes time. Nobody's telling you have to stop that life right now, because that's where I think a lot of people, when they go into rehab and things, you stop. But a lot of people fall back into that lifestyle because they stopped abruptly and they didn't take that process. It takes time, and you have to come willingly. A lot of people are forced to make this life-changing decision. But I think that you have to come visit. You can sit at the back, it's fine. Be at the back. But then you're going to start moving closer and closer and closer. And I just think that that's what it is.
You clearly are excited about your church.
I am. I love
and
it.
about your life. You're going to Paris, I understand.
Woohoo!
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Business, pleasure, combination, what is it?
Combination, history. I know how you feel. Maps,
Well,
archaeological sites.
somebody has to do it. So I'm glad that it gets to be you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for taking the time to share with us today. I have enjoyed this conversation. I hope you'll come back again.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for listening. Thank you for viewing. We'll be back next time.